SportsBeat is brought to you by Ken Garth. We hear you.
SportsBeat is live. Thanks for joining us. In the next half hour, we'll take you to Orlando, where the Utah Jazz continue to prepare for the NBA's restart. And Urban Meyer shares his thoughts on college football and COVID-19. And that's where we're going to start. College football. Bad news dropped Friday that will impact the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. The Pac-12 Conference has decided that all schools will play conference-only schedules during fall semester in all sports, including football. That means the rivalry game between BYU and Utah will be canceled. The Pac-12 explained that the reasoning behind this decision is to safeguard the health and well-being of student athletes, coaches, staff, and all associated with athletic events, and to provide the maximum flexibility in scheduling because of COVID-19. Pac-12 is also delaying the start of mandatory athletic activities until a series of health and safety indicators, which have recently trended in a negative direction, provide sufficient positive data to enable a move to a second phase of return-to-play activities. Utah Director of Athletics Mark Harlan released the following statement saying, quote, "While we support the Pac-12 Conference's decision today to only play conference games this fall in football, volleyball, and soccer, we are disappointed for our student athletes, coaches, and fans. We know it is particularly difficult to miss the rivalry matchups with BYU in these sports, and we look forward to continuing those as soon as we are able. These are truly unprecedented times, and we are working diligently to determine appropriate solutions while prioritizing the health and safety of everyone involved. Our conference and university leadership has provided great support and direction informed by leading health experts and data. We will work with our colleagues at each of the non-conference institutions impacted by Friday's decision to reschedule those contests, and we will provide more information about our schedules and our home events when they become available." Pac-12 is not the first Power 5 conference to make the move to conference-only play in 2020. The Big Ten made that announcement on Thursday. This decision will have a major impact on BYU's schedule as well. They lose 2 games on the schedule of Big Ten teams, a home game against Michigan State and a road game at Minnesota. BYU Athletics released the following statement in response, quote, "The Big Ten's announcement obviously has specific ramifications regarding the 2020 BYU football schedule. As we navigate the uncertainties of the current pandemic, BYU will continue to have discussions with other universities and our stakeholders." ESPN involved in that, of course, to make the best possible decisions for our student athletes and our athletic program, end quote. All right, no team in the country has been impacted more by these 2 decisions than BYU. The Cougars have now lost 5 games on their schedule, including all games scheduled in the month of September. The season opener at Utah, Michigan State, Arizona State, and Minnesota. BYU also loses the regular season finale against Stanford. The Cougars now have just 1 Power 5 team left on the schedule. That is Missouri of the SEC, and we're still waiting for a decision from them. For seniors like Troy Warner and Kairos Tonga, this was their last chance to get a win over Utah. Both went on social media to share their opinion on the decision. Offensive line coach Eric Mateos also chimed in saying, quote, "All I know is that the Brigham BMI boys want the smoke. Whoever puts their hand down, we will be ready. Just focus on being the best version of us, and it'll all work out. Hashtag Blue Grit." While Utah football had non-conference games scheduled with BYU, Montana State, and a road game at Wyoming. We'll now wait and see how the Pac-12 decides to move forward with conference-only scheduling this fall for football. We don't know yet when the first game will be, and if the conference will play 9, 10, or 11 conference games. Senior wide receiver Samson Nakua shared on Twitter his thoughts on the cancellation of the rivalry game. He said, quote, "Haha, BYU's right down the street from us, but we can't play them because of COVID? We're going to travel hundreds of miles to play in California, where COVID is one of the worst states? Let's think this through, people." Well, Utah State Aggies are also impacted by these decisions. Their home opener was going to be against the Washington State Cougars on Thursday, September 3rd, a rare opportunity to play a Pac-12 opponent in Maverick Stadium. That game is canceled. They also lose a road game at Washington on September 19th. As of right now, no other games on the Aggie schedule have been impacted but we will wait to see how the Mountain West, other Group of 5 conferences, and even FCS conferences like the Big Sky deal with playing a season during a pandemic. Now back to BYU. They need to find up to 5 replacement opponents in a very short period of time. So how would that happen? First, it depends on what the other Power 5 conferences decide to do. Alabama needs to replace USC on their schedule. Notre Dame now has open spots. But if the ACC goes to conference only, the Irish may be a part of that. They could also look to add games of schools like UNLV and New Mexico State on short notice. We'll have to wait and see, and you can be certain that if we do have college football this year, that ESPN will play a major role in helping BYU coming up with replacement games. Now, there was some good news this week. The UHSAA has made the decision to play high school sports this fall. That includes high school football. The decision by the board was unanimous. The board will meet again in 3 weeks to reevaluate that decision. Each high school will be under the jurisdiction of county health departments and must follow the guidelines that they are provided. The UHSAA is recommending that there be no out-of-state travel. They are considering requiring masks at sporting events. Some districts are considering games without spectators, while others will try to make it happen if possible.
99% of the communication I have received in the last week have been from parents, educators, basically saying that our kids are hurting. They're hurting mentally. They want to return back to the way it was as much as they can. Parents and students can still opt out of high school activities just like they can opt out of in-person learning in most cases. But we want to provide, where it's safe, an opportunity for high school sports to continue.
The Deseret News has released the preseason high school football rankings. The state's coaches have voted. In 6A, Corner Canyon's picked to repeat as state champs. Bingham, Lone Peak, American Fork, and East round out the top 5. Now to 5A, Orem also picked to repeat in 5A. They're followed by Timpview, Olympus, Lehigh, and Brighton. Skyview picked to repeat in 4A. Dixie, Pineview, Park City, and Snow Canyon begin the season ranked. Morgan and Beaver also picked to repeat as champs in 3A and 2A, respectively.
And 3-ball, Donovan. Here's play right there. Splits the defender out front, drives inside. Show the rebound. Rudy maybe got a hand up on it. Clarkson, that's his spot. Bang! Straight away. Look, there was more of that. And Buckets gets the bucket. Yes, he does. He's inside. And that's how you finish. Oh, taken away. Take it to the rim. Pass Donovan. Just beat the clock. Pulls it down from way downtown.
The Utah Jazz arrived in Orlando on Tuesday. While they adapt to life in the bubble, including the not-so-great food selection, the team is practicing in preparation for the NBA restart July 30th against the New Orleans Pelicans. Based on the early reactions from Orlando, Utah Jazz players are very pleased with how things have gone so far on the practice floor, especially when you consider the fact that they've been off for 4 months.
For what it's worth, I thought it was really good. I think we guys look good. We got up and down. We were able to obviously finally kind of play as a team, as a group, and a lot of our stuff is who we are. So to be able to hold on to that stuff for that long and kind of implement it and do it right away was pretty impressive. Yeah, I was really impressed with the kind of IQ of the guys to remember a lot of what we wanted to run after having such a big break. I mean, it's been really cool to get back out there and compete with the guys and talk a bit. It's fun.
A lot of attention will be on Donovan Mitchell when the NBA season continues. Expectations are high for the All-Star as he continues to try to take his game to the next level. He believes he's matured in the 4 months since the NBA suspended the season, and he continues to get advice from one of the all-time greats.
It's no secret I'm close with Dwayne Wade. You know, I've talked to him a bunch the past 2 years just about, you know, especially come playoff time. But, you know, for right now, I really think this I'm going to rely a lot on just kind of, one, the maturity that I feel like I've gotten throughout this break, you know, being able to be a leader, go out there and make sure I'm ready and being ready to lead these guys, but as well as seeking out advice. I haven't thought about, who to talk to yet. I think the biggest thing is kind of getting a feel for what we got going on here.
That leadership will be put to the test in a very challenging situation in Orlando. Up next, Real Salt Lake is back on Sunday.
So I think everybody's, anxious in a good way to start playing.
Bell's ready to kick things off in the MLS is Back tournament in Orlando. Plus, some clubs try to qualify for... Major League Soccer is back. The MLS is Back tournament began Wednesday night in Orlando. On Sunday, Real Salt Lake will make their tournament debut against the hated Colorado Rapids. Colorado was 2-0 before play got suspended back in March, knocking off DC United and Orlando City. Real Salt Lake has been acclimating to the time zone and humidity this week, and Albert Rusnak says the team is anxious to get things underway.
It may be a little bit a weird feeling at the start of the game, just because we haven't played a competitive game for so long. But I think, first few minutes as they pass by and everybody will get the feeling finally for a league game, then it should be all good from there, So me personally, I can't wait for Sunday's game.
The Real Monarchs back in action at Rio Tinto Stadium. Fans were allowed to attend this game. But early on, San Diego plays spoiler. Jack Metcalf on the corner finds Grant Stoneman for the 1-0 lead. The Monarchs struggle to score out of their opportunities here in the 57th minute. The newest Monarch, Ryan Sierakowski, gets a little aggressive and is awarded a yellow card for going at the goalkeeper there. Real's best play came on the defensive end. Kyle Coffey, the Syracuse native, with an impressive save. But the Monarchs end up falling in this one 1-0. All right, the NWSL Challenge Cup will continue in Harriman on Sunday. The early game will feature the Washington Spirit and Houston Dash. Kickoff at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. The night game will feature your Utah Royals taking on the Chicago Red Stars. Kickoff is at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. It will be the Royals' final game before the knockout stage begins. The Royals currently have 4 points with a record of 1-1-1, one of 5 teams with that same record and 4 points in the standings. Up next, Urban Meyer. Coach Meyer discusses college football in a pandemic, the challenges of dealing with COVID-19. Does moving the college football season to the spring make any sense? His response next. Urban Meyer was a guest this week on the Crimson Corner podcast with Trevor Allen on KSLSports.com. A chance to hear from the former Utah head coach on a number of topics. You can go there and listen to the entire interview. The topic on everyone's mind, though, in college football is, will there be a season during a pandemic? This week was not good news when it comes to that. And if there is, how do teams manage the challenges of playing a season as we deal with the spread of COVID-19?
You got to do what you can. And this is where culture and leadership are going to be drive the program, because these players have to do so much on their own. And football is unlike, all due respect to basketball and baseball. Football is a sport that you have to be trained. You can't take time off, really. You got to keep going, or your body won't be able to handle the stress and the pounding that it takes during training camp and the season.
If playing in the fall isn't possible, you've probably wondered if moving the season to the spring semester would make more sense. A chance to buy time until the number of cases comes down considerably, or perhaps a vaccine may be available by January or February. But Coach Meyer doesn't think playing in the spring makes any sense.
I don't think there's any chance. And when the season's over, if a player plays 1,000 reps and your body, your shoulders, your neck, you're just the fatigue, that especially the high contact positions, those players, I would not make them do a lot during spring practice, because their bodies aren't fully healed from the wear and tear of a season. So from January until March, when you have spring practice, you have to let those bodies heal up. And then in spring practice, you're practicing every other day, not full contact, not like a game, not those practices every day. So I can't see how you do that. And then you play a schedule in the spring, and what you're going to go back and do them again in the fall. So you're going to play 2,000 reps within like one calendar year. You're not going to do that. I can't see that happening, just because the nature of the sport of football.
Again, you can watch or listen to that entire interview with Urban Meyer right now on KSLSports.com. All right, now it's time for the archive, and this is one of my all-time favorite sports moments. On this day, 30 years ago, yes, I can't believe it's been that long, July 11th, 1990, Bo Jackson did one of the most memorable things we've ever seen in a Major League Baseball game. Jackson was a center fielder for the Kansas City Royals. It was a game in Baltimore against the Orioles. It was the bottom of the third inning. Joe Orsulak was the batter. He sent a deep fly to center field. Bo hustled and caught it, made the catch, and then ran full speed toward the wall and climbed it like he was Superman or Spider-Man. Pick your superhero. The Royals lost the game 7-5, but who cares? The only thing remembered about that game was that incredible moment of athleticism from the all-time great Bo Jackson. All right, up next, life in the NBA bubble in Orlando. See how these NBA players are passing the time and adjusting to a less than ideal food menu. We leave you tonight with a look inside the NBA bubble in Orlando. Luka Doncic and Boban Marjanovic of the Dallas Mavericks. 90s kids will remember this. You're watching the Disney Channel. You know, they're trying to make those Mickey Mouse ears, and they're struggling. Probably need to move on. It's been 4 months since he last played an NBA game, but Luka still has skill. The half-court shot off the kick.
Put your phone down. I don't like you no more.
Old friends Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic were reunited in Orlando, hanging out while practicing social distance, of course. Toby jealous of Bobby's new friend, Luka Doncic, I guess.
Okay. New York strip steak? Ooh. Braised beef short ribs? Damn. What else we got? Shrimp and grits? With I fuck with that cheesecake though. That creme brulee.
I could sit and listen to J.R. Smith read the food menu in the bubble all day long. I have a feeling that his enthusiasm was a little sarcastic.
Look at all the snacks we have, man. I feel like we should be a little more grateful and thankful. Thank you, NBA. Appreciate it. Oh, that's my favorite. I'm taking a Kit Kat. Thank you.
Again, my sarcasm meter is hitting here. I don't think that Enes Kanter is that grateful for the junk food that's available in Orlando, but, you know, having known Enes while he played here at the Utah Jazz, maybe he is excited about all the stuff he can eat. Very limited food options in Orlando. We'll see you tonight on the KSL 5 News at 10. Thanks for watching.